Everyone, my name is Nicole here from Be So Creative, and I'm so excited to show you the March dealer exclusive from Kimberbell. This month, we are going to be making this super adorable pendant. We have the option to put some ties on there, and it comes in 2 different sizes. So if you haven't done this program from Be So Creative before, what you can do is you can purchase the design. We will send it to you via email, so you'll always have access to it. It comes in all of the different formats, regardless of what machine you have. And then you will have access to this great instructional video. And if you need any of the blanks, so this is made on the canvas tote bag, we would love to supply you with the blank as well. Just let us know. And you can purchase these designs individually, or we sell them at a discount for the whole year. So let's get started stitching. Let me pull up our presentation and we will make this super adorable little pennant. All right, so this pennant is so adorable. And I will say that this design would look really great on a tea towel because you are getting it in 2 different sizes. That 5x7 would be cute on a tea towel, on a tote bag, lots of different things. So for this project, they recommend a washi back sticky wash away. I'm sorry, let me start over. They recommend a wash away sticky back stabilizer. You could use, if you didn't have a wash away sticky back, you could use a tear away, or you could also use an adhesive spray. We just don't want your project moving while we're stitching it out because we are floating it. So that's where the sticky back comes into place. So the thread colors you can see that were used on this project were teal, gray, black, dark gray, a dusty blue, an olive, a dark green, an orange, cream, yellow, fuchsia, purple, and a dark red. I will tell you on our store sample here, we did a couple different colors. We just did, a little more of a spring green, different colors. And really this project is something that you could make your own with whatever color palette you choose for your spring pennant. So this project is completed in 3 parts. The first part is going to be centering the tote. The second part is going to be embroidering the design. And the third part will be sewing it together. So first, we want to center our tote bag. So we are going to hoop our stabilizer. If you're using a sticky back one, you will do the glossy side up, and you'll need to score it and remove that paper. The next thing you'll do is load the crosshair file that was with the design, and then you'll stitch it out. And then we'll want to fold our tote bag in half. Wrong sides of the tote bag are out with the right sides together, and we're just going to finger press this. We don't want to press heavy because it'll be really hard to get that crease out later. So this is really important here. Depending on what size of tote bag you're going to make will depend on how far we measure down. So this design comes in a 5x7 or an 8x12. I made the 8x12 size. I think that's really great for this particular project to hang it out. I think the 5x7 would be great on a smaller tote, maybe an indoor pennant. It would also be fabulous on a tea towel. 5x7 is my favorite size to put on tea towels. So really pay close attention. Depending on what size you're making will determine where you measure down. So we're going to start at the top. And I will say when you fold your tote bag together, it is most important to make sure your handles are aligned. Some of these serge edges might be a little wiggly, but just make sure that your handles are aligned, and that's how you're finding that center. So then from that center point down, if you are making the 5x7 size, you will measure 4.5 inches down from the top of the bag down. If you are making the 8x12 size, you will measure 6.5 inches down. After you've done that, fold that in half. They suggest you put a pin in it. I just keep it folded in half. And then you want to align that with the crosshairs that you just stitched out, paying attention to where your folds A and B are. The top of the bag, the handles will be at the top of your hoop. The excess of the bag will go to the bottom. And you just want to smooth everything out. Just make sure you don't have any bubbles, everything's lifted. And then if you want to turn your hoop to the back, you can make sure that all of your crosshairs look really good. So first, we are going to get started stitching. So the first thing they want you to do is put a fusible backing on your fabric pieces that we're using for the flowers. And then for the tulips, there's glitter on there, so they want you to remove the plastic so we don't forget. And then you can either load the file in. I always load in my crosshairs and then stack the design on top. So make sure that you do pick the proper one for what you've measured down, either 5x7 or 8x12. The first thing that's going to stitch out are the leaves. The next thing will be that inner tulip fill, and then the tulip stamens. And for each, you can change your thread color as desired. So if we look at step 4, you're going to see a little box with some lines going through slashes. Anytime you see that in a Kimberbell direction, that just means that those lines will not show in your final project, so it doesn't really matter what color you use. So we're going to stitch in step 4 our tulip placement line. We're going to place the tulip glitter or whatever you're using for your tulips right side up, and go ahead and tape those down so they don't wiggle on you, and stitch the tack down line in a color that you want to show, because that will be something we see later. You'll want to trim your glitter close to that stitch line, and if you choose, you can press it down with a warm cloth or with the cloth on top with a warm iron for about 15 to 20 seconds, just so that glitter flecks can adhere to your project. Then you're going to stitch the decorative outline. And because it is a decorative outline, the tack down you used in step 5 will be visible through. So that's why we ask that you use the same color so you don't have a random color poking through. Next, we're going to stitch the tulip details and the little berries. We'll then do a placement line for the daisies, and then we'll tack them down. You'll put your fabric on top of that placement line. You'll tack that down, you'll trim it close, and then also stitch another decorative outline. You'll then stitch the daisy centers, and then the daisy stamens, as well as the phrase "is in the air." As you can see, "is in the air" is a different color than spring on our sample. So then we're going to stitch our banner placement line, and then we'll place the banner felt. Once you do the banner felt, you can do your tack down and then trim the felt as desired. The next thing we're going to do is stitch the word spring. So felt does have a little bit of a loft, not a high loft, especially if you're using the Kimberbell felt. If you seem to have trouble stitching on felt, and I will say every machine is different, I typically stitch on it just fine, but if you seem to have a little bit of trouble with felt, you can always add a topper. Now, because this is felt, I would recommend a wash away topper rather than a heat away topper. That way you can just rinse it through when it's gone. If you put heat, you risk melting your felt, and we don't want to do that. So if you think that your letters just aren't standing or you're just having trouble, try putting a topper on top, and that may help you have a smoother stitch out. So once you've got that stitched out, the word spring, we're going to move on to step number 17, which is the moth body. And then we'll do his inner wings. 19, we'll stitch out his outer wings, and 20, we'll do the moth antenna and the head. 21, we're going to stitch on some little dots on the moth wings, and then 22, we'll be stitching out the moth wing details. Step number 23, we'll stitch out our stars A's, and 24, we'll stitch out our star B's. That's pretty much it for the stitch out. We're going to remove our project from the hoop. We are going to turn our project to the back, trim our stabilizer pretty close to the design. If you used a wash away, you will then rinse it out. If you used a tear away, then you'll tear that out. And I would recommend clipping those crosshairs so you can remove those as well. Last, we are going to stitch our pennant together. So there are directions for a 5x7 and for the 8x10. So if you're, or 8x12. If you're doing the 8x12, feel free to skip ahead. We're going to do the 5x7 first. So we are going to fold our tote lengthwise, right sides together, aligning our handles at the top. We are going to mark down 9 inches from the top down, and we're going to mark that using your favorite pin. They say water soluble. I used a Choco marker, whatever you're most comfortable with. You're going to unfold the tote, and then you are going to, with the back of the design facing up, you're going to align the handles. So we folded it widthwise, right sides together, and we are the design, we're seeing the back of our design basically. And the bottom, we have a folded edge. And we've aligned our handles. At this point, we also want to make sure they're nice and aligned as well. That is going to make sure that at the end, our ties are nice and centered and they're not wonky. You are going to measure 1 inch out from the right side of the tote handle and mark it with the pin, and then draw a 7.5 vertical line from the top down from that marked point. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So again, starting 1 inch out from the handle, you are going to make a line 7.5 inches down. And then we will go ahead and draw a line connecting the two lines that we made on the side, connecting them kind of like in a soft V to that bottom mark that we made. We're going to pin everything in place and we're going to stitch through all of our layers. And we're going to be sure that we back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Then once you're done with that, you're going to trim 1/4 inch seam allowance and you're going to clip your corners so we don't have any bulk. Next, we're going to turn the tote right side out. You're going to gently poke all of your corners. You're going to press it well. And then we're going to top stitch across the top of the pennant, and that is going to close it. Then we're going to top stitch down the bottom and all of the sides. Because it's kind of thick, there is a recommendation of using a 90-14 needle, just something larger to go through those layers of the tote, or what used to be our tote that we're turning into a pennant, especially at the top, that's a little bit bulkier. Last, we are going to cut the center of each handle, and then we're going to hem all 4 handles. And guess what? You're done. Your project is complete. Now, I am going to go over the 8x12 size. So we're going to do everything exactly the same except for our measurements. So you're going to fold it in half. You're going to line it. And from the top down, you're going to mark 14 inches. And then we are going to, again, fold it where we are seeing the back of our design. Everything is aligned nice and well. And then at this point, we are going to measure 2.5 inches over and 11 inches down. We'll do that on both sides. Again, we will draw the nice little V, connect everything, and then the sewing is exactly the same. It's just the measurements that are a little bit different. So the remainder of the instructions are exactly the same for all of that. And your project, you can do lots of cute things with this little the pennant. You can hang it up. It makes a great garden flag. This would be cute on a tote bag. It would be cute on an apron. It'd be great on a pillow. Lots of fun things. So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you had a great time stitching, and I can't wait to show you our project for next month. Have a great day. Thank you.